I mean, I love racing, but I love other things too. So, you know, I'm okay with transitioning out. And there was a lot of things that were kind of just pointing me in this direction.
Danica Patrick made history as the most famous female driver in racing. But by 2017, something had broken. Her finishes kept dropping. Her team pushed her out. And in her final 2 races, crashes and engine failures ended everything she had built. Some called her a pioneer. Others said she was overhyped from the start. The truth sat somewhere in the middle, buried under 312 cup starts and years of pressure that nobody talked about. What really happened behind the scenes as her career collapsed? And why did the woman who changed racing walk away feeling shaken and worn down? Danica Patrick's story begins in Beloit, Wisconsin, where she arrived on March 25, 1982, and slipped into a world where engines were always humming somewhere in the background. Her parents, T.J. Patrick Jr. and Beverly Ann, lived the motorsports life long before she ever put on a helmet. Her father raced midget cars and motocross, while her mother worked as a mechanic and even competed in snowmobile races. Their garage felt like a second home, and every wrench, tire, and oil stain taught Danica something. They later ran a coffee shop and a glass company to get by, but racing stayed at the center of who they were. That rhythm became the music of her childhood, and little by little she absorbed it until speed felt natural in her bones. She grew up across the border in Roscoe, Illinois, carrying a mix of Norwegian, Irish, French-Canadian, Italian, and Native American heritage that made her story feel wide and layered. Her younger sister Brooke shared that competitive spark, and together they turned their backyard into a makeshift snowmobile track. Their parents joined in, and soon the backyard felt like an early training ground. Those evenings of racing for fun slowly shaped her instincts and taught her how to sense a machine in motion. The house was always alive with talk about engines and strategy and weekend races, and that energy kept her sharp and curious. As she grew older, that multicultural background and family warmth helped her connect with people far beyond her hometown. When she turned 10, her parents built her first go-kart using a lawnmower engine. It wasn't fancy, but it was fast enough to start everything. She entered the World Karting Association Grand National Championship by the mid-1990s and won her class 3 times. She won because she kept practicing, even on cold days when her hands hurt from gripping the wheel. Each race made her name a little brighter in local circles. It also made it clear that even with simple equipment and no big sponsor, she had something that could carry her far. Those years gave her confidence and push. And by the time she entered her teens, she already knew that driving was the thing that made her feel alive. Then came the moment when she had to choose between a normal life and the life she dreamed about. In 1998, when she was 16, she left high school during her junior year, earned her GED, and went alone to Milton Keynes, England, to chase a racing future. Jackie Stewart opened a few doors for her, and soon she found herself in rooms with people who shaped Formula racing. She even crossed paths with future F1 stars like Jenson Button. It was a huge leap for a girl who had grown up around snowmobiles and small-town karting tracks. England challenged her. She had to learn new customs, new tracks, and new driving styles while living far from home. But each struggle added something to her, and she grew into a more fearless competitor. That courage was tested when rumors spread about her having an extravagant lifestyle, which caused her to lose sponsor support. She had been living in a Ford-backed apartment, and the rumors, true or not, hit hard. For a full year, her father paid her racing expenses out of his own pocket, even though it was a heavy load on a working-class family. That time tested everyone in the household, yet it also proved how far they were willing to go for her. Her determination kept growing, even when her bank account didn't. Eventually, she regained sponsor support and stayed on her path, learning the hard way how fragile a career can be when money disappears. Her European racing story began in the 1998 Formula Vauxhall Winter Series. She was just 16, stepping into a world filled almost entirely with male drivers who had more resources than she did. In 1999, she raced in the British Formula Vauxhall Championship and finished 9th overall with 31 points. It was a big deal for someone her age because she was up against seasoned drivers with better equipment. Each race toughened her. Then in 2000, she joined Andy Welch racing for the British Formula Ford Championship. She ran 14 races and finished 3rd in the points standings. At the Formula Ford Festival at Brands Hatch, she finished 2nd, the best result for an American since 1972. Her name started echoing in more garages and paddocks, and by then, it was clear she had the talent to rise even without perfect cars or perfect backing. The 2001 season hit her hard. She struggled in the British Formula Ford Championship and ended up 25th with 10 points because her equipment wasn't competitive and the support she needed wasn't there. That frustration pushed her to think bigger. She convinced her father to support her move back to the United States. In 2002, she joined Team Rahal for the Barber Dodge Pro Series. She raced in 5 events and finished 13th with 35 points. The switch from Europe to America turned into a turning point that allowed her to work with better teams and aim higher. In 2003, she stepped into the American Le Mans Series GTS class and finished the season 23rd with ProDrive Racing. She also raced in the Toyota Atlantic Championship and finished 6th with 109 points across 12 races. At 21, she was proving she could jump from sports cars to open-wheel racing without losing momentum. Her adaptability became one of her strongest traits because she could understand any machine handed to her. By 2004, she hit another peak in the Toyota Atlantic Championship. She finished 3rd with 269 points in 12 races, with 1 pole and 1 fastest lap. Her performance earned her a seat with Rahal Letterman Racing in IndyCar. And despite people whispering about favoritism, she silenced them by showing she belonged. Her journey from karting to European formulas and then to IndyCar painted a picture of someone who did not back down no matter how steep the climb was. Then 2005 arrived and brought both fear and fame. She drove car number 16 in 17 races for Rahal Letterman Racing and finished the season 12th with 325 points. But after the race in Japan, toxic exhaust fumes made her severely ill. The fumes caused respiratory problems that sent her to the hospital and forced her to miss the next race. She had already made headlines by qualifying for the Indianapolis 500 as the first woman in the modern era, but this incident revealed the dangers that hide behind the glamour of racing. It showed that the risks weren't always visible. That same year, the Indianapolis 500 became the race that changed everything. She led from lap 56 to 74, and again from lap 172 to 185, making it 19 laps in total. Her 4th place finish was the best ever by a woman, and she earned Rookie of the Year. What made it unforgettable was that on the very first lap she almost crashed after a spin that could have ended her race. She fought through the chaos, regained control, and pushed her way back to the front. Her qualifying speed hit 227,004 miles per hour, and fans everywhere felt a shift in motorsports because people saw that she wasn't just making history, she was competing for the win. In 2006, she ran 13 IndyCar races and finished 9th with 302 points. That year, she also joined the Rolex 24 Hours at Daytona in a Daytona prototype with Rusty Wallace, Alan McNish, and Jan Lammers. They were contenders until mechanical trouble forced them out, but she showed once again how versatile she was. Even with setbacks, she kept proving she could step into any kind of racing challenge and handle it. Her 2007 season with Andretti Green Racing took her to a new level. She competed in 17 races, finished 7th with 424 points, and came heartbreakingly close to her first win. At the Detroit Indy Grand Prix, she led 9 laps and finished 2nd, becoming the first woman to achieve that in IndyCar. The race was full of crashes and tension, but she stayed steady and used every opportunity wisely. It was a moment people remembered because it showed how much pressure she could carry without breaking. And then, 2008 delivered the moment that defined her career. On April 20th, at the Indy Japan 300, she won. She led the final 25 laps at Twin Ring Motegi and held off Helio Castroneves and Scott Dixon. Her strategy was brilliant because she saved fuel earlier in the race and made her move when it mattered. When she crossed the finish line, tears came instantly because she knew how much it meant. It became the first and only IndyCar win by a woman, and to this day, it still stands alone. Her victory sent ripples through the racing world and made her a symbol of what determination can create. Danica Patrick's rise in 2008 began with a kind of focus that carried her through every corner of every track. That season, she finished 6th overall with 379 points across 17 races. And something about the way she drove made people watch a little closer. On April 20th, 2008, at the Indy Japan 300, everything shifted. She took the lead in the final 3 laps after other drivers pitted for fuel. And in those last moments, she became the first and only woman to win an IndyCar Series race. It felt huge because it was huge, and even when critics tried to dim it by saying her lighter weight gave her an advantage, the Indy Racing League president said the impact was minimal. The noise didn't matter anyway, because her season spoke for itself. 5 top 5 finishes, strong runs at Homestead and St. Petersburg, and a sense that she had stepped into a place no woman had ever reached before. The next year at Iowa Speedway brought something different. She finished 3rd in the Iowa Corn Indy 250, and instead of celebrating the moment, the garage filled with whispers. Teammates said Andretti Green Racing favored her. They said she got better setups and extra support because she was the face the sponsors loved. The tension came through on team radios and in interviews, creating a season where she finished 5th overall with 393 points, yet couldn't escape the idea that her success came from favoritism instead of talent. Iowa and Kentucky gave her her best results, both third-place finishes, but the talk around her never slowed. The question wasn't whether she was fast. The question became whether she was allowed to be fast for reasons that had nothing to do with racing. Then her 2009 Rolex 24 Hours Daytona arrived with a different kind of weight. She joined the number 2 Daytona prototype for Childress Howard Motorsports, and the excitement around her entry made the disappointment sharper when the car broke down again and again. After only 143 laps, they were done, marked DNF, and placed 46th. It stung because she had finished 8th back in 2007, and now she was climbing out of a car that never had a chance. Endurance racing is unforgiving, and that day reminded her how quickly everything can fall apart. Her 2010 IndyCar season showed she still had speed left in her. She finished 10th overall with 367 points, but Texas and Homestead told a clearer story. At Texas, she fought her way forward and finished 2nd behind Scott Dixon after leading 22 laps. At Homestead, she finished 2nd again behind Ryan Briscoe. Those 2 races became part of her career, total of 7 top 3 finishes. She didn't win in 2010, but her steady results showed she could still sit at the front. Still, something felt different because her attention was already drifting toward NASCAR and people saw it. Then came 2011. That year closed in on her with a mix of tragedy, change, and new pressure. She finished 10th overall with 314 points in 16 races. But the season's final race at Las Vegas changed the tone. A massive crash involving 15 cars ended the event early, and Dan Weldon lost his life. She had been running mid-pack when the crash happened, and everything after felt muted. She spoke later about how hard it hit her. That same year, she stepped into the NASCAR Nationwide Series, finishing 26th at Kansas in her first race. Critics warned her the transition would crush her. They said stock cars required instincts she didn't have yet. Her 2011 season became a turning point, split between grief and the first steps into a new world she didn't fully understand. The pressure behind her move grew as her split from Andretti Green Racing took shape. Contract disputes, frustration, and her pull toward NASCAR pushed her toward a decision she knew would upset people. Team owners and analysts said she would face a mountain she could not climb. Some said she would never catch up to drivers raised in stock car culture. Still, she signed anyway. It was bold, it was risky, and it showed she wasn't afraid to walk away from a place that had once defined her. Her NASCAR story began earlier than many remember. In 2010, she entered the Nationwide Series with JR Motorsports, racing 13 events in the number 7 Chevrolet. Her debut at Daytona on February 13th ended with a crash on lap 15. She finished 35th and earned 58 points. Her best finish that season was 19th at Homestead. She finished 43rd in points with 1,032 total and found herself crashing out in 4 of her first 5 starts. She only finished 3 races on the lead lap. She also tried ARCA and K&N East, finishing 85th and 45th. The learning curve felt steep because it was steep, and every mistake made headlines because of who she was. Still, her presence dominated media talk, and her bright green GoDaddy car became one of the most photographed cars in NASCAR. In 2011, she ran 12 nationwide races and finished 26th in points with 3D21. Her best finish was 14th at Daytona and 12th at Phoenix. What shocked people more was that she did all this while running a full 17-race IndyCar schedule. No rookie did that. The grind was brutal and showed in her results. She averaged around 28th place in NASCAR. She even missed key races at Darlington, Pocono, and Dover because of scheduling conflicts. But then, at Las Vegas, she finished 4th and broke Sarah Christian's 62-year-old record for the highest finish by a woman in a national NASCAR event. That moment carried her through the noise and proved she could push through limits most drivers never had to face. By 2012, she ran her full nationwide season, making 33 starts and finishing 10th in the final standings with 838 points. It was the best finish by any woman in the series. She earned 2 top 10s, 8th at Texas and 9th at Bristol, and even scored a pole. But the year came with crashes, including both Daytona races and a hit from Jacques Villeneuve at Kansas. Critics said she was a marketing hire and nothing more, but her points finish said otherwise. Even she admitted the season frustrated her, yet she said it accelerated her learning and prepared her for the Cup Series. Her Cup Series debut also came in 2012. She ran 10 races for Stewart-Haas Racing in the number 10 Chevrolet. She finished 62nd in points with an average finish around 30th. Her best run was 10th at Talladega. She became the first woman to lead laps in a Cup race there. Critics still said she was overhyped, but her debut set her up for her full-time Cup season in 2013. By 2015, she had passed Janet Guthrie's record for most top 10 finishes by a woman in NASCAR with a total of 21. Guthrie had 11. But even this milestone didn't silence the negativity. Some people insisted she only had opportunities because of sponsorships. Some called her a diva. She talked openly about how the criticism followed her everywhere and how her accomplishments were often ignored because her image drew more attention than her results. Even then, she kept driving, and she kept opening a door that had been closed for generations. One day in February 2013, everything rose to another level. On February 17th, she became the first woman to win the pole for the Daytona 500. Her qualifying lap hit 196.434 miles per hour and took only 45.81 seconds around the 2.5-mile track. More than 10 million people watched because they knew they were seeing history. She led the first lap and finished 8th, the best Daytona 500 result by any woman. Her pole speed remains the fastest single-car Daytona 500 pole speed in the last 30 years. Then came Talladega in 2016, a race that showed how dangerous the sport really is. With 8 laps left, she was hit from behind by Michael McDowell, spun, and slammed into the wall at nearly full speed. The car burst into flames inside the cockpit. She said she felt her breath leave her body and thought her hair was burning. Her chest, arm, and foot were badly bruised. She needed X-rays afterward, but no major injuries were found. She called it the worst crash of her career. It reminded everyone how fearless she truly was. Later, she talked about the mental cost of her career. She said the pressure and scrutiny made her feel 20 years behind drivers who grew up in stock cars. She said the 36 race cup schedule drained her. Only 2 or 3 weekends off through 9 long months. She compared it to the slower IndyCar rhythm and said NASCAR consumed everything. Over time, the negativity and the weight of constant expectations wore her down. In 2018, she stepped away because the joy was gone. She said racing most of the time is miserable and that her happiness had slipped away somewhere along the line. Her honesty revealed the parts of racing people rarely discuss, the kind that sit behind the trophies and the noise. Danica Patrick's story after 2015 moved in a slow downward curve that almost felt like watching a bright light fade little by little. Her performance in the NASCAR Cup Series slipped as each season passed, and by 2016, she finished 24th with 689 points. A year later, she dropped to 28th with only 511 points across 36 races. Every week felt heavier on her. Her average finish was stuck around 23, and she managed only 1 top 10 while suffering 11 DNFs. The results kept pushing her toward the back of the pack and stirred quiet talk in the garage. By late 2017, those whispers grew louder. People said the split from Stewart-Haas Racing was coming, and even though she had once made history in IndyCar, she couldn't keep pace here. Race after race, the frustration kept building until the team breakup seemed like the only ending left. That feeling carried into 2018. She wanted one last shot at the Daytona 500, maybe a moment of magic to close the chapter. Instead, on lap 101, her car got caught in a multi-car crash triggered by Chase Elliott. She finished 35th and climbed out of the wreck, knowing the moment she imagined was gone. The crash also collected Kevin Harvick and Casey Kahn. A few months later, she tried to find closure in the Indy 500 with Ed Carpenter Racing. She drove the number 13 car and hoped to leave the sport on her own terms. Then, an engine failure forced her out early, and she finished 33rd. 2 final races. 2 harsh endings. It showed how racing can turn against anyone, even those who changed its history. But her path had been full of danger long before that. Back in Japan in 2005, during her rookie IndyCar season, everything almost collapsed before it even started. She was exposed to exhaust fumes in her car, and right after the race, she suddenly felt like her body wasn't hers anymore. She couldn't breathe right. Her chest felt tight. She was rushed to the medical center and then to a hospital. Doctors said she had symptoms of carbon monoxide poisoning. She woke up shaken and confused, and kept thinking how close she came to losing everything. That moment followed her for years and stayed in the background of every victory she chased. When her NASCAR chapter neared its end, she tried to stay steady. Her last Cup start came in 2018 with Premium Motorsports in the number 7 car. The car struggled from the start, and she finished 43rd. People used that moment to revive the old argument that she was overhyped even after 312 Cup starts. Some saw a pioneer. Others saw a driver who couldn't convert fame into wins. And she stood in the middle of that noise, taking in a career that broke barriers and still left questions behind. By 36, she had reached the point where her mind and body felt worn down. Years of crashes, pressure, and constant expectations had settled inside her. She admitted she was shaken and ready to step away. Retirement came in 2018, and she shifted into media work. Some praised the honesty. Others wondered if she left too soon. But she knew the weight she was carrying and chose her peace. Her personal life was moving with just as much turbulence. She married Paul Hospenthal in 2005, 7 years after meeting him when she was 21 and recovering from a racing injury. The marriage came with a prenuptial agreement and a promise to keep things clear. Then, in November 2012, a day after she was named the most popular driver in the nationwide series, she announced their divorce. She called it irretrievably broken. The filing said there was no violence and no children. It was finalized in April 2013. She didn't share private details. She simply let the shock settle around her and kept going. Soon after, she began dating Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Their relationship started in 2012 and was confirmed publicly in March 2013. They raced together. They competed against each other. They shared 5 years that mixed public smiles with private uncertainty. On April Fool's Day 2017, they jokingly pretended they were engaged. But beneath the joke, she admitted later she was ready for something serious, while he wasn't. By December 2017, the breakup became official. Rumors had already started a month earlier when Stenhouse appeared alone at the NASCAR Cup Series Awards. Even so, both kept things respectful. Their story closed at the same time her racing career was closing too. Then came her relationship with Aaron Rodgers. It lasted from 2018 to 2020 and looked peaceful from the outside until she revealed in 2025 that the relationship had been emotionally abusive. She said it was the most painful period of her life. She described feeling worn down, losing her confidence, and slipping into a space where she didn't recognize herself. The breakup was sudden. It crushed her. Therapy helped her rebuild little by little. Rodgers never responded to the claims, but the revelations shocked everyone and showed how hidden pain can run under even the most famous relationships. In 2025, she seemed lighter. She posted holiday photos from Burning Man on Instagram. Nothing direct, nothing confirmed, just smiles that hinted someone new was in her life. Fans started guessing, and she didn't deny or confirm anything. Her energy looked different, and it seemed like she was entering a new space after years of emotional turbulence. Her health journey added another heavy layer. She got breast implants in 2014, hoping they would boost her confidence after racing. Instead, by 2018, her body started acting in ways she couldn't explain. She gained 25 pounds. Her hair thinned. She felt exhausted all the time. Her cycles became irregular. She went through specialist after specialist. She learned she had heavy metal toxicity and thyroid issues, but no doctor could explain everything. She took up to 30 pills a day. She tried gut healing. She tried everything, but nothing worked. For 4 years, her health kept falling. Then in 2022, after more tests, she was diagnosed with breast implant illness. Her body had been fighting the implants all along. The inflammation had spread through everything. She didn't have one illness. She had many symptoms from one cause. She decided to remove them in March 2022. The difference came fast. Within hours, her face looked healthier. Her breathing eased, her skin tone brightened. Over the next weeks, her hair grew back and her weight settled. Her cycles returned to normal. She said she felt clearer than she had in years. She now calls her well-being a 6 out of 10, but compared to the past, it felt like a miracle. She shares her story so other women know that if they feel something is wrong, they should listen to their bodies. Before removing them, her symptoms were so extreme that she often felt like she was battling something fatal. She had joint pain, leaky gut, brain fog, adrenal fatigue, dizziness, and weakness. Many moments felt like she needed to go to the hospital. The symptoms reminded her of that terrifying day in 2005 when she was poisoned by exhaust fumes. That memory helped her understand how much the implants had been affecting her. Her story shows how confusing BII can be because it looks like so many other illnesses. More hardship came in December 2024, when she was burned at Starbucks by scalding hot water. She posted the images online, showing swollen blisters and peeling skin on her thigh. The pain was sharp and constant. She kept posting updates through the healing days, showing the bandages and the frustration of recovering from something so common yet so dangerous. Her openness created a conversation about safety and how easily accidents like that can happen. Around the same time, she visited Dr. Daniel Amen's clinic for a brain scan. She wanted to see if years of racing had left permanent marks. The scans showed signs of trauma. They showed how the brain moves inside the skull during crashes, even with helmets. The images shocked her. They explained the memory lapses and the moments of fog she sometimes felt. She now speaks about brain health and tries to help other athletes understand what really happens to the body after years of impact.